Welcome back, everybody, to the Aaron's High Cap Adventure Radio program. Again, we're here. It's February 3rd, 2018. We got about 25 minutes left in the show. And we're just going to throw some stuff at you here. I've got, well, actually, Mark, let me start with you. Did you have something you wanted to, you stopped on by to say hi? What do you got going on?
Well, I just wanted to stop by to say hi, and also I want to really push the news about your license to carry class on the 10th of February. I think it is so important that people act responsible with their weapons. I've had a lot of Johnny wannabes try to impress me by showing me that they're carrying their weapon, and then my first question is, are you safe? Are you responsible? Are you licensed to carry that weapon? And they'll say, oh, no, I just got it, and I don't know. Maybe there's a class around. I'll find out. I'll get legal. And I say, well, you're illegal right now, and I don't want to know about it. But I know a guy who is a master at the license to carry training.
Who's that? I got to see him. Who?
Well, I think I'm talking to that wildcat right now. You're a freaking thunder god, pal.
No, stop.
No, but people, I've been around the world. I've been teaching Africans, people down in South America, Central America, Filipinos, all about small unit tactics, use of weapons, all kinds of things. But Matt, over the 30 years that I've known him, we've trained in all kinds of weapons, and he has always been the very best. Now, when it comes to license to carry, he doesn't just teach you how to pass the certification course. He teaches you all the aspects, the legalities, the posturing, the employment methods, the manipulation. He teaches everything with highest quality. And when you walk out of there, at the end of the day, you have confidence. You know that you've been taught by a master. You've got an indoor range. There's no pressure. There's no manipulation, no intimidation. It's just professional instruction. And if you're going to go and carry a weapon, you have a duty, a responsibility to be licensed, to be responsible, to be a safe weapons owner, and know how to carry it properly. So you're not going to get that anywhere else that I have seen in Texas and in Utah, Las Vegas that I've been at. I've been at a lot of great gun shows and a lot of academies. Matt is the very best at what he does. And that is teaching a license to carry. He'll teach you how to hit a bullseye within an hour. If you've never even picked up a weapon before, he will teach you how to do it safely and responsibly. Okay,
Right,
enough
look,
said.
I did not know you were coming in, and I didn't pay you for that. I should have paid you for that. That was
I'll let you.
But thank you very much. I appreciate that.
February the 10th, 2 o'clock.
Okay. 2 o'clock.
And if you know people who are carrying weapons out there, talk to them. Try to make them responsible, especially if you have kids and they're packing a weapon around your kids. You want them to be safe.
I'll tell you what, Mark, since you brought up the license to carry, I was going to talk about some certain things here, but I touch on this in the license to carry class. Since you're here, let's talk a little bit, unless you got to go. I wanted to talk to everybody about dominant eye and cross-eyed dominance.
Good idea.
And I'll tell you why. In the class, I ask people, are you left-handed or right-handed? And they'll raise their hands, they'll show me which one's which. And I ask, well, do you have a dominant right eye or a dominant left eye? And they're not really sure what I'm talking about. So let me try to give you a visual based on words here. I'm a left-handed shooter. The gun is in my left hand. I extend it out towards the target, and if I was bullseye shooting, I would close my right eye and use my left eye, because that's my dominant eye, to aim the gun with. However, sometimes it gets cross-eyed dominance. So let's say I'm a left-handed shooter, gun's in my left hand, but when I go to aim the pistol to bullseye shoot, I close my left eye and cock my head over so my right eye is in the line of sight with the sights. Well, you can do that, and that's fine. It's been going on for years, okay? However, it can be a little bit awkward. And in self-defense shooting, it really doesn't apply. So I'm trying to hit a couple points here. One, understand if you are cross-eyed dominant or not, and understand in self-defense shooting, it really doesn't matter because of the importance of shooting with both eyes open. If you shoot with one eye open, you only see half as much. Now, if you're cross-eyed dominant, it's going to make you cock your head over to a weird angle. If you're aiming the gun at a threat, you're wrong. You don't have time. The threat's going to move by the time you aim it. I cannot tell you how many people I see standing in a gun range, in a booth, shooting at a piece of paper, taking entirely too long preparing themselves for self-defense shooting. It doesn't work that way. In a self-defense shoot, in 3 seconds, 5 seconds, up to 30 seconds or 2 minutes, depending on the scenario, the shot has to be made almost instantaneously once you make the decision. There's no room to aim the weapon. So, to get back to the cross-eyed dominance, dominant eye thing. If you can follow me on this, let's play a little game. Look at something in the room. Find anything to look at in the room, a little bit away from you. Let's say just on the other side of the room. And with both eyes open, look at the object. Maintaining both of your eyes open, extend your arms out, and make one hand overlap the other just a little bit, and then make a little tiny peephole between the two hands. It's going to be right around the thumb area. With both your eyes open, your arms extended, and your hands in the position I just told you, look through that hole with both your eyes, and then bring the backs of your hands towards your face, and your dominant eye will be forced to look through the hole. So even though you got both eyes open, as the hands come to your rear, let's say I'm a left eye dominant individual, and the hands come to my face, and I close one eye at a time to see which one it is, it's going to be the left eye that's looking through the hole. If you're a left-handed shooter and your right eye's looking through the hole, you're a cross-eyed dominant person. If you're a right-handed shooter and your left eye's looking through it, you're a cross-eyed dominant person. Well, fear not, because in self-defense shooting, one-eyed shooting goes out the freaking window. Would you not concur, Mark?
Absolutely. You're going to get tunnel vision, and both eyes are going to be wide open like you see in the horror movies because people are naturally in shock. But you want both eyes open so you have your peripheral vision and you can see the threat approaching from your left to right.
That's right. That's right. So in self-defense shooting, it's going to happen very quickly once the decision's made to draw the weapon. And when it happens, you will not have time to aim. So you got to learn which one is your cross-eyed. Make sure you're cross-eyed. You're not cross-eyed dominant. And if you are cross-eyed dominant, you know how to instantaneously correct it by opening both eyes. Okay, that's the first thing, unless you got something else to add to that. We kind of blended in both eyes open at the same time, like we said, because you can see twice as much in your peripheral vision. It goes more than 180 degrees. If you're standing and looking directly ahead of you, your left and right isn't really 180 degrees. It goes a little bit past that on either side because I guess because your eyes are kind of round, you get to see a little bit further past 180 degree arc. So both eyes open makes it beneficial to see something coming at oblique angles. Now, bringing the gun up to the line of sight via the ramp and not the pendulum method. Whoa, what did I just say there?
You're not going to go bowling with your gun.
That's right. Let me see if I can make this a visual. This will be on the video probably Tuesday, but while you're listening to me on the radio here, let me see if I can explain it. If you're in a self-defense shoot and the gun's got to come out of leather quickly to the threat, or plastic, or kydex, whatever you're carrying, you're looking at the threat. You're standing somewhat in a tactical stance, a protective, combative stance, getting ready for whatever comes at you, okay? And you're looking at the threat with both eyes open. There's an imaginary line that goes from your pupils to whatever it is you're looking at. If you can draw, like in a cartoon, a dotted line going from where your eyes are to what you're actually seeing, you'll see that straight line, okay? When you put your hand on the weapon properly and draw it out of the holster and bring the gun up into your line of sight, there's two ways to do it. The right way and the wrong way. The wrong way is using the pendulum effect. And I was teaching this last night. The pendulum effect is when the gun comes out of the holster. I'm going to try and stand up for the video on this one. See if I can show you. If you hear some noise, it's the mic being moved. All right, as I'm standing up, the gun's in the holster. As it comes up, and here's my line of sight, I'm drawing an imaginary line. The gun comes up like a pendulum. And what happens is, if my line of sight is to my object, and the pendulum effect is, I may have a chance to shoot the gun prior to it being in direct line of sight, or I may overswing the line of sight and shoot too high. That's the pendulum effect, as compared to going up the ramp. So here's the dotted line. Both of my eyes are open. I'm looking at the imaginary object. I got this imaginary dotted line. The gun comes out of my holster, and now, as soon as the muzzle clears the leather, I'm starting to direct it towards the threat, and the arm is coming up the ramp right into my line of sight. So what's going to happen is it's almost I say that because it can always happen, but it reduces greatly the chance of you overswinging or shooting too early. The gun is automatically, immediately facing the threat. It's coming up the ramp, and as the ramp ends, it lines up with your line of sight, and you're ready to shoot. The other thing too is if you have to shoot prematurely, at least the gun's in the same direction as the threat and it's pointed straight. The other absolute mandatory without fail condition you must do is know how to hold the gun properly. You've got to learn how to hold the gun properly, because if you're using both eyes, interject anytime you want more. If your eyes are open and the gun is in your hand and everything's done right, but the gun is crooked in your hand, doesn't mean squat everything else you do. The gun's not going to, the bullet will not go where you're looking at. And if I can explain this, okay, we've got this PA-63, which is hot, so I'm going to clear it. Clear?
Clear.
All right, weapon's clear. You'll notice in the video, if the gun is crooked in my hand, I've done this before in videos, you have to check it out again. But if I go up the ramp and point, I'm looking at you, but my gun's pointed over towards the H in the video. You'll see the H on the sign, okay? The gun needs to be straight in my hand, so when it comes out of leather, it's always on the threat. Now I'm pointing at myself in the video. That's probably why the gun looks like it's going off on an angle. Mark, what do you got?
Well, I was going to say that once you break leather, as you're coming up with the ramp method that you're talking about, as soon as it breaks leather and you're pointing towards a target, you're at a point of retention, actually. So you're retaining the weapon close to your body where you have positive control and it can't be taken away. You can actually engage your target from that point. If he is closing with you, or if you're closing with the target, then you can pull the trigger right now and still hit him because you're within that range and he cannot take the weapon from you. As you're coming up that ramp, you can engage at any time until you're fully extended. At that point, if he is closing with you and you don't need to have that weapon fully extended, you can still bring it back to a point of retention, block, and reholster if you have to, if you have a jam, and then you can go to other combative techniques.
There you go. It's very clear on the video. I've got a handful of videos that explain this. However, we're doing a hodgepodge here, so you'll have another chance of taking a look at it on the video. Bullseye shooting versus self-defense shooting. A lot of people, when they're just starting out, I mean, they're taught how to bullseye shoot for obvious reasons, because you got to at least hit the paper, and there's basic fundamentals of marksmanship. You've got to know the basic fundamentals. However, when you come to my class for self-defense, I'm not teaching fundamentals. We're utilizing fundamentals that you should already know. So if you don't know those fundamentals, we have a class set for that specifically. But if you're in a license to carry class, that's not the time to be learning the fundamentals, because soon after that, you and I both know you're going to race out and go online and fill out your application so you can get your license, and then you can pack heat. We all know it, okay? So don't deny it. And once you get it, if you don't do the follow-up training, you're going to be someone out there with a gun who's a threat to yourself and some innocent individual, and the bad guy most likely is going to walk away from the fight without getting a scratch on. So you've got to learn the difference between bullseye shooting and self-defense shooting. Bullseye shooting is very step 1, 2, 3. Self-defense shooting is, I already know the numbers, I'm just going to apply it. Yes, sir.
I know you're short on time, but people buy a weapon for protection or for sports. We're talking protection here. So, yes, you have to know the basics, fundamentals of marksmanship, and then get in the right mindset. Because once you get comfortable shooting on paper, now you got to start visualizing that you're doing this for protection. So you're going to start shooting a body to stop the threat. So start getting that mindset going. Start changing from bullseye targets to actually human targets, so that you'll be able to respond effectively. Because when you're getting carjacked and a guy's shoving a gun in your face, you're looking for a bullseye, or you're looking for center mass. Mm-hmm. You're looking for center mass.
I'll tell you what, I'm trying to figure out a way for somebody who doesn't have the finances or the equipment to help them, aid them in their training. Let me give you a little trick on how you can learn how to point shoot. In the video, you can look at the video later, but I want to try and explain it to you verbally. You know how when you're looking at something and then you go, hey, look at that, and you point at it, you're pointing your index finger and the palm of your hand is facing down? Well, if you do a rotation, a 90-degree rotation with your thumb in the up position, it's as though you put your gun in your hand, okay? So I'm looking at the video. When you go to see it, I'm looking at the bridge of my nose. And I'm saying, hey, look. And then if I just turn my hand with my thumb up, it gives you an idea of what the gun's supposed to look like in your hand when you've got an actual gun in your hand. It's no different. I'm looking at the object. I point. What I just did was brought the gun up into the ramp.
You line of sight?
Line of sight. And instead of the pendulum method, I use the ramp method, and then I just turn my hand, and there it is. There's the gun. I just got to make sure the gun is straight in my hand, but that's a quick way to do it. Both eyes open. I'm looking at the center of the clock. There it is. Boom, I point. point, twist, and there's the gun in my hand.
And there's nothing wrong with dry firing your weapon. I dry fire for 15, 20 minutes before I ever put a live round in the chamber.
Explain exactly what dry firing is.
Dry firing is when you've positively checked and cleared your weapon, and then you practice your draw, you practice your engagement. You pull the trigger, you do all the fundamentals of basic marksmanship, and you just fire your weapon, but without any ammunition.
Now we use, in the class, we use our snap caps.
Snap caps.
Snap
yes.
caps are great, and what I would highly recommend you do is if you do get a snap cap, all a snap cap is a plastic round or a partially of a true casing with a rubber piece of rubber in it representing the bullet part of it. It's dead ammo. It doesn't work, but it gets you to manipulate your weapon and learn how to correct malfunctions, how to load your weapon, how to rack the slide, all sorts of good stuff.
But again, if you dry fire, you have to make sure that that weapon is clear and the ammunition is completely separate.
That's right.
Triple check.
Live ammo downstairs. You practice upstairs, nowhere in sight, just to ensure that no accidents happen.
That'll also improve your trigger pull and your technique as far as firing. You can focus on the muzzle of your weapon as you pull your trigger, and you can obviously see what you're doing wrong.
I want to make a comment though on dry firing. If you have a 22 caliber rimfire weapon, do not dry fire a lot. If you're going to test to see how the trigger pull is, that's fine. But dry firing a 22 long rifled weapon is not good for the firing pin or the recess part of where the cartridge sets into. It'll start to cause a dimple in the metal. And if you have a dimple in the metal, when you go to put a round in there and fire it, the firing pin, when it hits the rim of the cartridge, may not have enough backing on the other side because now there's a dimple there, and it might not, at times, set off the round. Okay, so you want to be very careful when you're dry firing a 22 long rifle cartridge for that reason. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying keep it down to a bare minimum. And I also think they even got 22 snap caps for that. Or get a shot cartridge and get the brass casing and use that. This way, at least the firing pin is hitting on a soft brass as compared to a hard metal. Okay. Any final points?
Just be safe out there, people. Don't leave your weapons in your vehicles for burglars and thieves to get them. You have a responsibility to control that weapon at all times. And every bullet that leaves your chamber, you are responsible for. The poor lady, 23-year-old lady, just recently was killed by a stray gunshot. It's sad, and it's so avoidable.
That's right. Okay, let's do this. Let's take a break, whatever it takes to get us set up for Master Cindy Keys. She's got about a 6-minute segment. And so, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back from the break, we're going to go right into Alan. We'll go right into the video because Miss Key couldn't be here. And depending on how much time is left, we'll end the show or I'll come on in the last few seconds. So we'll take it from there.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Thanks for coming out.